Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts. Guys, the newest episode of Arrow, Season 4, Episode 20, Genesis, just finished airing on TV. Now I'm here to review / just talk about the episode. If you haven't seen the newest episode of Arrow, Genesis, click away now. I'm getting into spoilers in this review. You have been warned. This is a spoiler review for this episode of Arrow, the newest one, Genesis. So click away if you haven't seen this episode. This is a spoiler review. You've been warned. Okay, let's jump into this episode. So we have three kind of stories going on in this episode. We have the Lila and Diggle thing, we have the Oliver and Felicity thing, and we have the Thea and Alex thing. So the first thing I want to talk about actually is the Lila and Diggle portion of this episode, because something major happens and I want to talk about that first, and we'll talk about overall this kind of, one of the plots of this episode. So Diggle, John Diggle, because there's an Andy Diggle, his brother, John Diggle does something we've all been waiting for. At least most fans of Arrow have been just wanting him to do this ever since the major death happened this year on Arrow. John Diggle did it. John Diggle killed his brother Andy Diggle, and I kind of saw it coming when Andy Diggle just kept egging on and on and on about how your daughter has to go to school eventually, John. Your wife is not really safe because you can't watch her 24/7. John just did it. Just shot him. Now, obviously, John wasn't like standing over him and smiling, going, I killed my brother. He was still emotionally hurt, but it had to be done. I felt like it had to be done because what more could they do? I mean, Andy already put a tracker on John, and Andy was going after John's wife, Lila, and her and his daughter. I think her name is Sarah. Yeah, Sarah. So it just, I just don't see what else they could have done for Andy Diggle as a character to make us hate him. Like, obviously they could have did more for us to hate him, but I mean, it felt like if they didn't kill him in this episode, whether it's his brother John Diggle or something else, it's just prolonging that death, because I just don't see how Andy's going to be, pushing along the story without it getting repetitive, because all he's doing is going after, John's family, and he's already done that. So I don't know what else they could have done. I mean, I guess you could think of a couple of things, but I felt like this was a pretty amazing turn for John Diggle as a character, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if this has any ramifications for his character later. Like, if he's going to be dwelling on it and going, was it the right thing to do? Even though we as an audience, most of us on Twitter, a lot of us were really happy, agree that yes, he should have died, but maybe John will see it differently and think there was possibly still a way to save him. I don't think so, but that's just the way I think that he might take it, but we'll see what happens. I think that John will be able to recover from this and continue on as part of Team Arrow, but who knows? We'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks, and maybe even into Season 5. It might still be coming back to haunt him. So, but overall, I like this part of the portion of this episode because John really shined in this episode. David Ramsey, the actual actor who plays John Diggle, shined a lot in this episode. A lot of great moments, intense scenes, and you get to see the anger and just him just saying, no, I'm not waiting for backup. I'm going to go after my brother. He did so many bad things. He was the reason, in John's mind, that Laurel's dead, so I got to go after my brother, Andy. So I have to praise David Ramsey for doing a good job tonight. I really felt the emotion in his acting tonight for sure. So next thing I want to talk about is the Oliver and Felicity thing. Now, everybody was freaking out, including myself, when they mentioned that Oliver's going to Hub City to possibly learn some counter magic against Damien Darhk. And we were all thinking, Hub City, oh my god, the question. Sadly, no question. Now, we got to meet this new character, and this is my only real big critique of this episode. There was a couple of, critiques you kind of look at, something like, well, maybe they could have shot this differently, the dialogue could have been a little bit different. I feel like this female character that we met, I don't even know her name, because I don't think it was really said. If it was, I didn't understand it, because I'll be honest with you guys, her accent, at least personally, now maybe I'd have the volume up high enough on my TV, I couldn't understand half the stuff she was saying. Like, I kind of picked up on the fact that Oliver has to be the opposite of Damien Darhk. Damien Darhk is darkness. He thrives on fear and death. And Oliver, if you want to counter it, you have to thrive on the light, and you got to be the opposite of Damien Darhk. I picked up that aspect, but everything else, I was just kind of like, okay, I wish your accent was not that intense, so I can at least pick up a little bit more of what you're saying. The only real major awesome part about this, besides learning that Oliver can't, he failed at the little test that she gave at him with the darkness. We got to see cameos of Deathstroke. Manu Bennett there was no voice of Deathstroke. He just punched Oliver and kicked him. We get to see Damien Darhk in this little kind of, darkness test that she sends toward him, which he obviously failed. We got to see a lot of flashbacks. We got to see a flashback of Tommy dying, Moira, how do you pronounce her name? Thea and Oliver's mother dying. We got to see Felicity putting the ring on the table. We got to see a couple of different things. We got to see Laurel's death again. A lot of stuff was being shown in this, flash. Basically, it's Oliver just failed. He just failed at this test. So, great moment with that test, with all these flashbacks and all that kind of stuff, and kind of just showing all these really intense moments, a part of the Arrow show. But to counter the very big positive of that, the negative is that I feel like that they could have just had the question. They could have just had the question be in the episode and not this woman. I don't even know who she is. I don't know. So that's it for me. That's really what my thoughts about was for that. Last thing I do want to talk about real fast is the Thea and Alex thing. So I've been saying since day one when they introduced this Alex character is that Alex is a bad dude. Now, I was kind of right. Thea was wanting to take a vacation. She wakes up in this neighborhood, in this house. Alex is there. She starts hearing that these noises that are happening outside, birds chirping, dogs barking, are on a loop. She hears 3 chirps, 2 dog barks, 4 chirps, and there's some sort of loop where it just continuously happens. So eventually Alex starts pulling out these pills after the 3rd or 4th time. Thea's noticing stuff, it's not right. We're in this huge neighborhood. There's no neighbors. There's nothing going on. He pulls out these pills and she hits the bottle. Pills go everywhere. And there are the Hive suggestive, wow, English, suggestive pills. And what was interesting is that we already got to see that with what happened with Andy. Andy was suggestive to going after his brother, essentially. Now, if it was still in effect tonight, I'm not really sure. Maybe he just hates his brother. But essentially what it was implied is that Alex, unbeknownst to him, was given all these pills by Ruve Dark, Damien Dark's wife, and essentially, because he works for the mayor now, and, maybe he's not bad, but these pills were given to him so he could be suggestive of kidnapping Thea. Maybe that was the end game plan. That's what it seems like to me. So Thea's not crazy, but she's underground, and Damien Dark has this chip that essentially can launch nuclear weapons. So they've really stepped up their game with what villains can do. So this villain has the power to launch nuclear missiles. Okay. That's a lot of crazy stuff. There was a Constantine reference tonight. Oliver was able to kind of repel against Damien Dark's his abilities. That was pretty cool. But, I'm really curious to find out what's going to happen the next 3 weeks, because I feel like now they finally got the ball rolling with this Genesis thing and basically all of, what they've been setting up this whole season. I'm hoping they'll be able to pull it off in the next 3 episodes. Who knows? But I'm really curious to find out how this all plays out, because I felt like this was a very intense episode and they gave a lot of information. A lot of cool things did happen. But, we'll have to see if this trend of a lot of things jam-packed in this episode continues the next 3 episodes to where we're satisfied and going, okay, well, they took a long time to get the ball rolling for this Genesis thing with the Hive, but man, they really pushed hard in the last couple episodes and it worked out. Let's hope for the best that's what will happen. Okay, I'm done talking. Okay, I'm all over the place with my voice, my words. Okay, I'm done talking. Thank you so much for watching my review of this episode. Good episode. Can't wait for next week. Okay, I definitely need to stop talking. Peace out, guys.